many days, weeks, or even years after you've heard this. Well, hey there. Welcome back. I have a little bit of a philosophical journey I'd like to go on with you. First, I need you to do this. Imagine your favorite game. Typically something that's a bit more complex, not just a real super simple card game, but more of something that has a little bit more as far as rules are concerned, Monopoly, that sort of thing. Once you have that game in mind, we can proceed with the question I have for you. If you are playing the game within the rules and you're doing it to the best of your ability for you to win, are you good or evil? If you're playing the game to the best of your ability, using the rules of the game, and your sole purpose is to make one of the other players lose, are you good or evil? If you decide to stop playing the game, and in doing so, you cause the game to end for all players, are you good or evil? When I ask this question, it's not for you to view from the position of being Mary, who's sitting across the table from Alex, and we're judging Alex on whether he's good or evil. We're judging what he's representing in the game. So his player in the game. And in some games, you actually have a little player, you have a little thing that represents who you are, a little icon, that sort of thing. And again, I'm old school, so I'm thinking a physical game that people would sit around and play. I'm not thinking an online game of some kind, but it would apply to those as well. But to keep things simple, I'm just talking about fairly complicated board games. One final question. If someone is playing the game and they make it difficult for everyone to play the game, in other words, they keep getting up, they keep getting distracted, they walk around, they spill something on the game, and they do that all intentionally, are they good or evil? Now, if you're new to my podcast, you may think, oh, this guy just sort of reads like philosophy stuff and then he just kind of like twists it a little bit. No, I will genuinely tell you right now. I will tell you right now that this came to me while I was in the bathroom and I saying to myself, have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? Which is basically a phrase from a Batman movie years ago. I don't know why I thought of it. I had nothing to do with what I was thinking about at the time. But that immediately triggered a thought about, well, what does that even mean to dance with the devil? What does that mean? And then like it spurred on a cascade of thoughts. And that led me to, wait a second. And it was the thought that I haven't vocalized yet. And I want to see how you come to this same vocalization. So in all the scenarios, are any of them good? Clearly. Are any of them evil? Clearly. I ask you this because in the game of life, we're only aware of ourselves, the players, or rather the things the players are playing, you could say, right? The avatars, the playing pieces. So let me back up a little bit here before you answer. I wrote a book on the devil when I wrote the novella, The Devil's in the Details. I have published 2 role-playing games many years ago, so I'm no stranger to the connection and interaction between the player and the thing or person he's playing. I wrote a book called Oneself, which was my take on religion, spirituality, or lack thereof. So it's not like I don't have a bit of background thought to this concept, and that's probably where this philosophical question comes from singing a simple phrase from a Batman movie. So by now, if you've given this some thought, and if you've used the trick that I've kind of taught you, which is to pause this podcast, because I like it to be interactive. And how can it be interactive if I just babble for 10 minutes, right? Well, it can be interactive if I'm asking questions and saying, pick this, pick that. And at that time, you pause it and you give it some good thought and give it some minutes of your thought, because your thought is very valuable. And then you continue. So if you've paused it at all, and feel free to do that at any time, you may have realized by now I'm actually asking 2 questions. I'm asking, is the player evil or good? And is the character or the playing piece evil or good? And could it be the opposite? Could you play Monopoly as your Monopoly guy, and your Monopoly guy wins Monopoly and is happy, but you playing him didn't really play the game for him to win. You played because you wanted your sister to lose because you're mad at her. Or vice versa. What if you're playing the game and you're just trying to have a good time and you want everyone else in the game to have a good time, and your playing piece loses miserably? How do you dole out the cards that say good and evil? Or not at all? It's a hugely philosophical and possibly unanswerable question, right? If we take this to a higher level, then it becomes extremely philosophical, right? It's almost answerable if we use the context of Bill and Mary and Ted all playing Monopoly. But it's a bit more difficult if we take that up one level, right? But here's a more tangible thing to consider between those two bookends of non-usability when it comes to this information. Have there been things that you've been involved in, long-term things, even short-term things, that you're able to look back on? And I'm sure you've used the phrase, well, I meant for things to work out. I meant for it to work. I meant well. And we hear that phrase way too often. Oh, he means well, which is a phrase that I'm not fond of when I'm told somebody means well, because it means that you remove responsibility and things like that, right? And you may argue with that, and I hope you do. But is there something that you've been involved in that you look back on? I mean, it ranges from everything from a small project to being the project leader to having an actual position in a previous company. Perhaps you had a position in which you meant well and you were trying really hard to turn the company around, or to make changes, or to be the agent of change and the change manager and all those other things people say. And you couldn't. And it just went down in flames, and you went to a new company where you actually had the breathing room to be able to do that, and the facilities, the breathing room, the tools, and the empowerment to do what you needed to do. You did the same thing, but it worked, and the other one it didn't. And you could say, well, yeah, that was me. I was the same good person trying to make sure that worked. But you might have taken blame for things going down in flames, because had you not rocked the boat, they would have stayed with status quo and they would still be afloat, but they may not be doing well at all. And eventually they would crash and burn, to mix lots of metaphors together. You can look back at a relationship. You can look back at all sorts of things that you've been involved in that are complex, like a game, like a system, and think, was I good or evil? Were my intentions pure? What were my intentions? Did I intend for the other players to succeed, or did I intend for myself to succeed? And you can apply everything I just asked you. That's all I have for you on this, because this is something that you have to think about. This is a journey that you have to go on. And it's a fascinating one. And it's something you can think about for many days, weeks, or even years after you've heard this. And I find this fascinating because I'm doing the same thing. Thinking about this for days, weeks, and probably years after I record this. I appreciate you listening to this particular episode and every single episode that you've listened to. Consider that I'm thanking you, thank you, for each and every time that you've listened, because it means a lot to me. It really does. I don't know how to express that to you other than to thank you for this. And I hope that you have feedback in case you have something that you enjoyed, that made you think, or even something that you would like to have a fun disagreement on. Take care.
Living life every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days.
I want to announce that my new book, my 10th, is out. It's called Because, the fundamental psychological building blocks that enable you to, or prevent you from, accomplishing anything, everything, and nothing. Check it out on Amazon. It's only $9.99.